If you've ever walked through an American airport in the last decade, you couldn't miss them. Bright yellow planes, black bold lettering, and a business model that sparked more internet memes and late-night jokes than perhaps any other company in modern history. Spirit Airlines was a carrier that everyone loved to hate. They charge you for your bags, they charge you for your water, and they squeeze as many seats onto an airplane as humanly possible. But beneath the jokes, Spirit Airlines was a titan of disruption. For millions of Americans, they were the only reason a family vacation was financially possible. But today, on May 2nd, 2026, the yellow planes are grounded. After 34 years in business, 2 recent bankruptcies, and a frantic last-minute push for a federal bailout that ultimately fell through, Spirit Airlines has officially ceased operations. Welcome back to Moltar Aviation. Today we aren't here to make jokes about legroom. Instead, we're going to look at the incredible rise and tragic fall of an airline that revolutionized the industry, fought valiantly to survive against insurmountable odds, and ultimately ran out of runway. To understand the fall of Spirit, you have to understand how brilliantly they rose. Spirit actually started as a charter company in 1980 called Charter One, but rebranded to Spirit Airlines in 1992. For a while, they were just another standard airline, but in 2007, under the leadership of Ben Baldanza, Spirit made a pivot that changed aviation forever. They became the United States' first true ultra-low-cost carrier, or ULCC. They introduced the unbundled fare. The idea was simple but controversial. Strip the ticket down to bare travel. You get a seat. That's it. If you want to carry on, you pay. If you want a soda, you pay. And from a business perspective, it was a masterpiece. If we look at Spirit's SEC 10K filings from the 2010s, the numbers are staggering. In 2011, Spirit was reporting explosive growth. By 2017, they proudly announced in their annual filing of their 11th consecutive year of profitability. They were achieving operating profit margins of nearly 15%, bringing in over $2.6 billion in revenue that year alone. More than half of their revenue started coming from those non-ticket fees. With that cash, Spirit bought up a massive fleet of brand new fuel-efficient Airbus A320 family jets. They were a fiercely efficient machine, operating with some of the lowest unit costs in the industry. And here's the positive legacy of Spirit: they democratized the skies. Because Spirit existed, legacy carriers like Delta, United, and American were forced to introduce basic economy fares just to compete. Spirit made flying cheaper for everyone, even if you never flew on a yellow airplane. But the aviation industry is notoriously unforgiving. In 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic grounded the world. While major carriers had lucrative corporate contracts, international routes, and massive credit lines to fall back on, Spirit relied heavily on price-sensitive leisure travelers. According to their SEC filings from 2020 onward, financial bleeding began. Over the next 4 years, Spirit would lose more than $2.5 billion. They were burning through cash trying to keep their planes in the sky and their 17,000 employees on the payroll. Management knew they couldn't survive alone for much longer. In 2022, a lifeline appeared. Frontier Airlines, another budget carrier, proposed a merger, but then JetBlue swooped in with a massive multi-billion-dollar counteroffer. JetBlue wanted to buy Spirit, absorb their planes, and retrofit them with more legroom and seatback screens, essentially eliminating the Spirit brand to compete with Big Four legacy airlines. Spirit agreed to JetBlue's offer. It was their ticket to survival. But in January 2024, a federal judge backed by the Biden administration's Justice Department blocked the merger on antitrust grounds. The government argued that eliminating Spirit would harm cost-conscious consumers by removing the cheapest option in the market. It was a devastating paradox. The government forced Spirit to remain independent to protect cheap fares, but Spirit no longer had the money to survive independently. The lifeline was cut. Without JetBlue's backing, Spirit entered a freefall. The 10K filings from this era paint a grim picture of a company doing everything it could to save itself. In November 2024, Spirit filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. They restructured, cut almost 4,000 jobs, slashed 200 underperforming routes, and deferred aircraft deliveries. They emerged from bankruptcy in March 2025, hoping a leaner operation would save them. But the world had other plans. In August 2025, with $8.1 billion in debt and an inability to turn a profit, Spirit filed for bankruptcy a second time, citing substantial doubt about their ability to continue. And then came the final blow. In early 2026, conflict in Iran sent global oil prices skyrocketing. jet fuel prices jumped over 40%. For a budget airline already running on fumes, this was fatal. In the final weeks of April 2026, there was a glimmer of hope. The Trump administration entered talks for a last-minute $500 million federal bailout to save the airline and its remaining 14,000 jobs. But negotiations stalled. Time ran out. In the early hours of Saturday, May 2nd, 2026, Spirit Airlines flight November Kilo 1833 touched down at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. It would be the airline's last. Overnight, the company announced it was immediately ceasing operations. Passengers arrived at airports on Saturday morning to find empty counters. Thousands of dedicated crew members, pilots, flight attendants, and gate agents who had weathered years of public scrutiny with smiles and professionalism were suddenly without jobs. In a rare moment of industry solidarity, major carriers like Delta, United, JetBlue, and Southwest immediately stepped in, capping fares to help stranded Spirit passengers and offering spare seats to help stranded Spirit crew members get home. It's easy to look back at Spirit Airlines and remember the tight legroom or the baggage fees, but as the yellow planes sit quietly on tarmacs across the country, it's worth remembering what they actually accomplished. For 34 years, they forced an entire industry to adapt. They created jobs. And most importantly, they gave millions of people the chance to see the world, visit family, and take that vacation they otherwise couldn't afford. Spirit Airlines didn't just fly, they disrupted. And the aviation industry will never be the same without them. If you enjoyed this look into aviation history, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. Let me know in the comments what was your most memorable Spirit Airlines flight. Thanks for watching.